And we're back with another video. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you would have seen I've been doing a NA+T build on my BF Fairmont. And in the last video, I got the engine in and finally got the thing started again. Now, that was a couple of days ago that we got it up and running again. I have been coming out and just starting it every now and then. But now it's time to start fitting all the rest of the accessories and the exhaust. And yeah, finally get this thing ready to get back on the road. So what I think I might do today is get stuck into getting the FG intake manifold on and the fuel rail, and I've also got an FG rocker cover to go on with FG coil packs as well. Now, as we know, the car starts and runs, it all runs perfectly, idles like it should, no faults showing up on the dash or anything like that. Now, I have been talking with Bill Hooton about this build in bits and pieces, and he's assured me that everything should work and it should still run. Which is all I want it to do with the FG stuff. I'm going to be taking it for a tune anyway, and the tuner will be able to touch it all up. But all I want to do is put all the FG stuff on so I can start mocking up the intercooler and everything. So what I might do is get some tools and get stuck into removing this manifold, and then we can start looking at pulling the wiring off as well. And I also think I might want to change out this water pipe, just because this whole turbo feed here, I never wanted this in the engine bay. I've just put it in there because it was the easiest way to go, but just looking at it, it's shitting me to tears. So I think I might change that out and fudge the water line, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. I'll do that when we've got access underneath the manifold. So first thing I've done, just disconnected the battery, trusty little 10mm. We'll get this out and put it back on trickle charge. Now, because I'm running the FG intake manifold, FG rocker cover, I'm changing out the actual wiring harness as well to suit. The FG wiring harness is identical to the BF wiring harness, you know, so long as you've got the right harness compatible for your transmission. Except there is one slight difference on the FG harness, which is the oil temperature sensor. The BF wiring loom has the provision for the oil temperature sensor, but the FG wiring harness doesn't. So what I've done is I've gone and bought an add-on that Bill Hooton sells. It's just a cheap bit of wiring, but basically it's just an add-on, so it gives you the wiring for the oil temp sensor, and you can run that back up and plug it into the ECU, and then the harness should work as it should. Now, the only other physical difference on that harness, FG to B series, is the plugs for the coil packs. They also have a different plug. So I've gone and got FG coil packs to go into the FG rocker cover, so this whole top setup will basically be a FG. But I'll disconnect all these coil packs and the VCT solenoids, and then we'll start looking at getting the throttle body off, and I think I might split the intake just to make life easy. Alright, got all the coil packs disconnected, the VCT solenoids disconnected. I've just unscrewed the ECU. I'll disconnect this and get it out of the way. One awesome thing about these cars is the way the ECUs plug in. Everything's nice and simple. That one was loose already, as you can see. But all you do is you just pull on this little tab here and pull down on this lever. Get that one as well, just like that, and then you just pull the lever down and the whole plug just comes out. Really simple, just like that. Easy. Now, all the sensors underneath the manifold are all plugged in, and the wiring is run how it should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this manifold just to try and make life easy in getting it off. And I'm hoping that the FG turbo one is a lot easier to get on than this thing, but we'll see how we go. Next thing I'll do is get the throttle body off. So this is just for this is a 5mm, yeah, 5mm torque hex head. So these just come out. They're really long Allen bolts. There's two on the bottom. I'll show you. I'll go to the other side. As you can see, there's two on the bottom. There's one that side and one in there, down in that hole. So all you do is just use, all I do is use a little quarter drive ratchet with a few extensions, a little 5mm bit, and that gets in there nice and easy. Just like that. I'll get it off. Okay, got the throttle body off, so just got to unplug the TPS and we'll get it out. Throttle body came off nice and easy. So now what I think I might do is, just while I can get to these injector plugs, I'll just get all these off. Okay, I've just disconnected all the injector plugs. They've come off nice and easy. What I think I might do now is separate this manifold, and then I'll be able to have a bit more access, because this thing's really in the way in the car. And then once that's separated, I might look at getting the fuel rail off. I'm going to have to jack the car up to unplug the fuel lines again. Okay, so a bit of a change of plan. I started splitting the manifold, but I thought what I'll do is I'll get the fuel rail out first. So I've just jacked the car up, got underneath, disconnected the hoses and got that out. Okay, making some progress. So I had a bit of a change of plan. I decided not to split the manifold because by the time I took the fuel rail out, I had pretty good access to the bolts in here, as you can see. So I've only got a couple left to take out now, which are just these top two, which are already loose. That one and that one. So I'll get them out and then we'll get the manifold out. I certainly feel for people who have had to do their intake manifold gasket in the car, because that was certainly not fun. The manifold ended up going flying because I got everything all off, all the bolts are out, and it was getting hauled up on by one bloody hose. Oh, the one connected to this. So I just ended up yanking on it and it went flying. So all the wiring's disconnected now. I've jumped underneath and disconnected it from the transmission as well. There's literally one plug left plugged in, and I think you might know what that one is. It's the head temp sensor at the back of the head. So what I might do, I'm going to be changing the rocker cover out anyway, so I might take the bolts out of the rocker cover and hopefully take it off, and it might give me a bit more clearance to get my hand down the back and just unplug that one plug. See how we go. There we go, got the rocker cover off. That was uneventful. This is all familiar territory. Had all this off just a week or so ago. So hopefully now I'll be able to get down here. I'll just have a feel. It still feels hard to get to. I'll put the phone down and have a proper look. All right, so I've just come over this side, and yeah, it's pretty much right there. Not sure if I can get the camera in to pick it up, but it's right there. Easy to get to. I'm going to change out this hard line now, this water line. So I'll take the water line out first, and then I'll be able to get my hand down onto that sensor and unplug it. Now, the only reason I'm changing out the water line is I'm just not a fan of these, the way the turbo feeds from here. Just looks ugly to me. Yeah, I like the NA one, just looks cleaner. So I want to take this one off and swap it out. Now I think what I might do, instead of just taking this off and taking this out and letting it piss the water out here, I'm just going to undo the radiator bung down there and let the water out through there. Just lower it enough so this won't piss out everywhere, because I'm going to wet everything I'm trying to work on otherwise. So I'll do that. Okay, just took the bung out, got some water out, plenty there. So everything's wet on the floor and not up here. I've taken the fitting out of the top line here, and I've disconnected that hose clamp. So now I've just got to get on the other side, disconnect those two heater lines there, or the heater hose that's on this hard line, and then I can get it out. So there we go, FG turbo hard line. Nothing wrong with it, just, yeah, I'm just not a fan of this. It's just ugly. So now the head temp sensor is unplugged. I should be able to route that wiring out of the car, hopefully. See how we go. And there we go, all out. Now I could have saved a lot of time and put that FG harness on, because it's meant to work with the B series stuff. Just the coil packs would have been wrong, but because I hadn't started the car before and because I hadn't done the valve springs and the oil pump gears, I just wanted all the B series stuff back in to make sure it was all how it was before I took it apart. So a little bit of extra work now down the track, but yeah, I think it's worth it in the long run. I know the car runs, and we've got all oil up top here, so the pump must be doing its thing. Pretty cool. Okay, now it's been a couple of days since that last bit of footage, and as you can see, I've got the wiring harnesses here. I've already started to sort of tidy up the FG harness. I've just wrapped it in some that flame-proof, heat-proof tape. But I just thought I'd run through the differences in the two harnesses. So I did mention earlier that the harnesses are exactly the same, and what I meant by that is they were the same as far as the pinouts on the ECU itself. So all the cables that come out of these connectors out of the ECU are pretty much the same. Now if you look here, this is the factory one out of the BF. This actually has a second plug coming off the Loom, and this is what they call the C plug, or C connector, which goes into the bottom of the ECU. This one here is called the A connector. So basically this is the Loom which runs the engine, and then in the car you've got the B connector as well, which is the one that plugs into basically the rest of the body. Now this is the FG Loom that I've picked up, and this FG Loom only has the one connector on here, which is known as the A connector. And all these pinouts are the same as the A connector on this B series one. And I did mention earlier that the FGs don't run the oil temperature sensor, but the B series do. So the oil temperature sensor is basically, where is it? So I've just laid the Loom out roughly. So the oil temperature sensor is this little plug right here. So the FG one doesn't have that, but what I've done, I'll just show you. So here's the FG loom. So this little piece here is the oil temp sensor plug. Now this is an add-on that I bought from Bill Hooton. Basically I've just tapped it into the existing loom, and now I've got the plug for the oil temp sensor where it would have been on the BF. What I've done is I've just used the BF harness as a template and just given it the same amount of length as the other harness, so it should reach when it's in the car. Now, as I mentioned, this plug is basically just an add-on. So it's the plug itself properly connected up this end, all terminated properly, and it just runs two wires. So it's a grey wire and a yellow wire. Like I said, I've spliced it into the main loom, and it comes out up here, which I've yet to connect up this end. So here's the other end of that plug. One of the wires has already got a nice terminal on it. That's ready to plug straight into the back of this connector. And the other one, I need to splice into an existing wire that's already in the loom, which I've already marked with a piece of tape, which is just this guy here. So all I need to do is find the right pin out in the back of this plug, and this yellow plug will connect straight into that port. And the grey one, which I've got here, just trying to look through the camera, I just splice into this already existing grey wire here. So like I said, I've run this through the existing loom, and it just needs to be connected up this end. So I'll get some screwdrivers and we'll look at connecting it into this plug. Now the back of these connectors, as you can see, they're all, there's a lot of holes. So when you find the proper pin out, the proper hole for that yellow wire, it's actually blanked off because it's not used on the FG. So I'm going to have to drill a little hole in the back of this plug, just with a small drill bit, just so I can get that yellow cable through. So I'll start on this plug. What you need to do is get this little red cover off, and that exposes all the little terminals inside here. So I'll get this off. All you do is get a little screwdriver in here, and it literally just pops straight off. And that literally pops straight off with a screwdriver. Just leave it in there and pop it out. So now you can see all the little locking terminals. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, for all those pinouts. Now when you buy these little add-on harnesses, there are some instructions that you get when you buy them which tell you which pinouts to put them into, and if you look on the back there, if the camera will focus, they're all numbered anyway. So you just got to make sure you find the right pinout or sort of port, and yeah, you can't really go wrong. Okay, so like I mentioned, this is known as the A plug to go into the ECU, and the instructions that I've got are that this yellow wire gets pinned into A13, the A13 port on this plug, and the grey wire, this guy, if it'll focus, is spliced into pinout A32, which is that grey one, which I've marked out with a piece of tape. Now what I'll do is I'll put a little picture up on the screen to show you all the pinouts of this plug, which is readily available online. Now as per that picture, pinout 13 is the one right next to this white one, so there's an empty spot just in here. So what I'll do is I'll deep pin this white one just to give me access to get to number 13. So all I need to do is, if you see here, the white one is the very top one of these three on this left hand side of the plug. So it's going to be this guy right here. So I'll get a little screwdriver and we'll deep pin that one. Okay, there we go. Just got the screwdriver and just pulled back the little locking tab. So now I can pull that pin out and get it out the way. And as you can see there, we've now got access to pin number A13. Now I've just turned the flash on because, as you can see, if you look into that hole, it's actually blanked off. I can't just put the plug in and clip it in. So I've been told that I need to get a little tiny drill bit and drill that out, but not go too far, because if you go too far, you'll snap the locking tab off the inside of the plug, which we don't want to do. So I'll do that off camera just so I can do it nice and neatly, and we'll come back when I've done that. Okay, just got the drill and gently drilled that hole out. As you can see just there, we're looking at number 13. I'm hoping that might be a big enough hole. I've just gone really slowly with it. I might need to just chew it out a little bit more just so the connector fits in, because it's a little bit smaller than the drill bit's a little bit smaller than the plug. So I'll just get the drill bit, give it a little bit of a tickle, and then we'll try clipping the cable in. Okay, just chewed out the hole a little bit more, but what I've just quickly done is I've just de-pinned, as you can see there, the wire that's next to the one that I need to put in, just so I can see which way the actual pin needs to go into the plug, because I wasn't quite sure which way it went in. So now I know which way it goes in. I'll try and plug it in, and hopefully it just clips in. There we go. That went in and clipped in nicely. You heard a nice little click. I had a little bit of excess up this end, so what I've done is I've just wrapped it around the existing wire. It's just loose, so yeah, there's no tension on it. And that's going to be all tied in with the factory loom anyway, so that should be fine. Very cool. So now all I need to do is get this grey wire and splice that into this one. But first, what I'll do before I forget is I'll put that white cable that I took out back into its spot. Alright, got that white plug back in. So the two plugs are done now. I just need to splice into this one wire and then we'll be done. Now, like I said, I've already marked this wire out here with some tape, but what I think I might do is I'm going to de-pin this pin just so I can splice into it nicely and put some heat shrink on it, because I'm actually going to solder the other wire onto it. A lot of people only like to use like crimps in engine bays, but I've only got a soldering iron and I want to do it sort of neat, so it'll just be a little solder joint. By the time I put some heat shrink over it, you won't even know it's there. And there we go, I've de-pinned that plug. So now I just need to splice into it. Okay, I got the soldering iron out, ready to go. Got my wire strippers here, so I'm just going to make a little splice into this cable, and then we'll be able to cut this one to length and join the two nicely. Okay, got the strippers ready to go, so let's do a little splice. Beautiful. So now all I need to do is cut this one obviously to length, strip some wire off the end, and then I'll wrap it around the splice and then I'll get a solder on it. And there we go, as you can see, I've got a nice good mechanical twist on there. It's nice and firm. So I'll just get a little bit of solder on it and be good to go. There we go. Nice little bit of solder on that joint. So that's all done. Now I've just got to get some heat shrink on that and cover it up and it'll be good to go. Okay, got some heat shrink on there ready to go. Got my heat gun. I'll just shrink it down. There we are, one splice done. Nice and neat. Camera's not bloody focusing. Just a small little solder joint, that's going to be fine. Now we can plug this in back into the connector in pin 32 and we are done. All done. Plugged it back in, beautiful, went in nicely. As you can see there, 32 is the second one on the top there, on this bottom, well, the second last row, second one in. Just going to focus, there it is right there. All done. So now I'll cut this cable tie off that was just holding all this together, and I can finally finish off this loom and clean it up and get it ready to go back in the car. And there we go. Engine loom is all done. I've just wrapped it with some of this that heat tape that I had, just so it's tidy, just cleaned it up a little bit. Yeah, so we're only using the 1A connector, and the C connector that we had in the BF loom doesn't need to be used because we've got the C connector which Bill Hooton made us in a boost control harness that I've had made up, but we'll get to that when we do the boost control. Pretty chuffed with how this little bit turned out too. So this was the this is the wire that goes down to the starter motor, the red wire. The previous owners of this harness had butchered it. I'll put a picture of the plug in here, how it was. And when I bought a couple of pieces off Bill Hooton, I asked if he had one of the proper plugs to go on the end, and he had one in stock, so he sent me one of those out. So I've managed to put a new one of them on as well. And I put a little bit of braid over that as well, just to tidy it up. So it's all nice and tidy. Yeah, ready to get back in the car. Alrighty, back over on the car now. As you can see, I've put the harness in, so it's all connected to the head temp sensor. I've ran it down this side of the engine, ready to go. And I've also sorted out my transmission cooler, so I just put a new fitting on this back connector here, so it's not, that shouldn't foul out anymore on the manifold. It's a little bit tidier that way as well. So pretty happy with how that turned out. Got it all cable tied and joined up nicely. But I'm just working on this water line that I wasn't happy with. As you can see here, I put the FG NA one back in, the hard line. But what I've done, I'll show you. So here's one I just used as a template. So what I've done is I've got the BA-BF hard line, which has the bypass at the back. And this one's actually better anyway, because it has two brackets here which bolt onto the intake manifold to hold it nice and firm. And if you have a look, I've got another one there that I've cut and just sat in the engine bay, which is just there, sitting nicely. And all I've done at the front, like I said, I've just put the NA line in, the hard line. And I'm going to try and cut it as close to this as I can, and just join it with a piece of hose and a couple of hose clamps. So that way I've got the bypass at the back, and I don't have the ugly turbo feed at the front, which I didn't want in the first place. The only thing I'm not going to like about it is, as you see here, the factory hoses are supposed to have these rolled beaded ends to hold the hose on. But if I find some hose that's nice and tight on there, I think that'll be fine. Now I could do like two T-piece things in here and have a bunch of hose clamps up the back, which I just want to try and avoid that. So this will work for now. Yeah, it should do the job fine. So here it is here. So it's a bit of a Frankenstein thing. Got the piece of hose on there with just a couple of clamps, which I'll tighten up now. And then I'll get this thing on and bolt it in. So I'll put this in and we'll see if it works. I'll probably revisit this down the track once the car's on the road and running and everything. It shouldn't be too hard to just sort out this hose, because yeah, I'm just not quite happy with how it is. But I can get it on and yeah, it'll do the job. And there we go, got all the wiring on. That was a bit of a piss around. I had to redo some of the wiring, which I'd already had all nice and tidy. I didn't have enough wire on the original oil pressure sensor, just because it's now extended with the feed for the turbo. So that was a bit of a pain. Now I mentioned earlier there is a C connector, which is a third plug that goes into the ECU. So this is the B plug that I talked about earlier. The C plug is for the boost control, which I'll need to run around to the wastegate solenoid over that side and up to the map sensor on the which is a boost pressure reference sensor, which goes onto the intake once all that's on as well. But we'll get to that when I put the turbo ECU in and set up the wastegate. So that'll be it for now. Last thing to do on this side is bolt on that heater hose that I've made up, but I can't do that until I get the intake manifold on, because it's got two mounting points which will need to go over the studs. But it's just sitting in there roughly for now. So I'll get to that when I do the manifold. I think the next thing I'll be doing is putting the FG rocker cover on so I can get the wiring all finished off. And then that'll be that done. And then it'll be on to the fun stuff like fitting all the ANTZ Performance exhaust and intake, battery side intake and relocation kit as well for the battery. And I'm just thinking, while I've got good access to the starter motor, what I might do is get the power cable for the battery relocation kit actually and connect that now while I can get to the starter. And that'll be ready to go for when it comes time to do that. But that's it for now. I'm going to go inside and watch the Eagles lose against Port Adelaide. That's going to be fun. And then I'll probably be out here tomorrow and start on the rocker cover and maybe get the manifold on as well. We'll see what happens. It's slowly coming together, slowly but surely. Almost there. Yo.